started. I'm going to actually present this because I'm fancy. So let me give this a second to load up here. Okay. So, welcome everybody. I hope you like the title. Now that's a whole mood. So just really quick before we get started, when I decided to make presets for this, I had the presets made for specifically really dark backlit high contrast photos, and then I decided that I wanted to make a second set of the identical presets but made for front lit, less contrasty images. That way they would look right if you shot multiple things within the same set. And I thought to myself, well, that would make the presets the whole mood, because you got like the dark mood and the light mood. I just thought it was funny. Okay. Anyway, moving right along. So, basic stuff. Let me hide this guy real quick. There we go. So, Moody, what is it? So I know most of you guys are probably like, duh, Elena, but I just kind of want to reiterate what we're talking about when I say Moody. So, it's usually going to refer to a backlight or a rim lit photo, okay, like this one here on the left-hand side in the red. So that would be the light coming from the back toward her body, okay? And it can also pertain to a more high contrast shot with deeper shadows. So something like the image on, I'm sorry, this is my left. I don't know my left from right, so I'm just going to apologize ahead of time. Which is great. So the image on the right here is going to be front shot. It's actually still kind of a side shot. It's if you looked at her elbow and kind of drew a line straight up, that's where the light would be coming from, shining down her face and across her body. So yeah. Okay. We know this much, right? And just to define, so you guys know what we're talking about when I talk about rim lighting is going to be slightly behind from the side, okay? So if you look here, can you guys see my mouse? Does that move? Because I can't see real time. Oh yeah, it does. Okay. So, I don't have the presets in front of me, so hopefully I can remember. So this doesn't have anything to do with the presets yet, but we will get there, I promise. And I don't want you guys to have them in front of you, because you guys need to know how to use them first, which is why I'm holding them hostage. So if you look here, you can see the light, and this could be a window or any light source that you want. It's going to be slightly to the side, so that it's the rim of the person. So you can see here, this is her face, her nose, her lips. This little bit of arm back here is a little bit of boobies down here, the neck. So that would be the rim lighting, okay? Everybody follow me? It's pretty simple stuff. I know there is a fill light right here. Just pretend like that doesn't exist. Okay, so that's your camera, that's your person. This is where your light should be, okay? Easy peasy. And it can be on both sides, it can be on one side, as long as it's basically like a 45 to their back, kind of, I guess is the easiest way to say that. So, backlighting is when you have the subject literally standing in front of your light source. Now, typically that would be a silhouette shot, okay? Obviously you can't see anything, but for instance here, I would still consider this image backlit because the window is directly behind her. I just have her body turned in a way that it's lighting the rim of her body. So this is still, I would still consider this kind of both. And really, when you look at it like that, they're really not that different. Your light always going to be from the back, and it's always going to be kind of skimming to pick up the rims of the person, okay? If I were to shoot this directly forward without her turning, I would not see any of this. It would just be a silhouette shot, okay? Not Moody. And then we have front lighting. And what I mean by front lighting is basically anything that has the light shining directly at the person, okay? This is not behind her. This is not behind her. The light is in the front, and the light's hitting the face, okay? Everybody follow me thus far? So these are considered Moody too if you're comparing them to, like, say, light and airy, or as I like to call it, overexposed. I'm sorry, I digress. So as you can see, dark and Moody doesn't necessarily mean underexposed, okay? It's just a high contrast, which creates usually a bit more color. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't like color, you can dial that back. I am colorblind, so I dial mine up, and my shit's always oversaturated, okay? Oh, and now we're going to get into fun stuff. So, let me know, give me a show of likes. Give me a show of likes if you guys have ever heard of the inverse square law. Okay? Give me some likes. I want to see how many of you guys have heard of it. And I'm not going to try to teach you all of this. Okay, it looks more complicated than it is, but I just want to basically explain one thing to you and how this affects you so that you think about it when you're using it. Okay, so don't look at it and go, shit, what is this? What is this thing? And some of you guys, like I said, you probably have heard of it, maybe haven't thought about what it means or how it would even really pertain to how you're shooting your images. Okay, I'm getting a lot of likes. Okay, very cool. Alright, so a lot of you guys have heard of it. If you're like me, I understand it, but I always got to remember, I have to go back and look at a chart to remember how much light you lose and stuff. Honestly, for what we're doing application-wise, it's not important that you know everything. The only thing I really care that you know is that each doubling of the distance of your light, so if when you go from 1 meter to 2 meters or 1 foot to 2 foot, whatever, the distance decreases by the quantity of light by a factor of 4, which is 2 stops. Okay. Oh, Lena, what are you speaking? So again, you don't need to understand this. The only thing I care about is between the first and second meter. That means between foot 3 and foot 6, 3 feet apart. The light decreases by 75%. Okay. So if you look here, we got a f22, and if you look here, we're at a f8. Huge difference, right? That's the only thing I care about. This will all make sense, I promise. The only thing I care that you know is that this is called light fall off, okay? See how nice and concentrated and dark it is here at the beginning, and as you get further out, you see it spreads wider and it gets dimmer. Now, once you get past this initial 75% drop, after that, it's very, very slow to decline. So if you got your person 3 meters away and then you're like, man, I'd rather move them 6 meters away, it's not as big of a drop. You're only going from an f8 to an f4 as opposed to going from a 22 to an 8. And if you guys don't know what stops are and everything, again, don't worry about that. All I want you to understand is that the further you get away from the light, or you get your client away from the light, the quicker the light will start to fall off. Okay? And the reason I care that you know that is because it affects how the light looks on your person. All right. So here is the setup I used. I put painter's tape on the ground. I notched off a foot, every foot, from basically 0 to 12 foot. And my disco balls got in the way on some shots, so ignore those. But I'm in the middle of renovating this room. So what I did is I took my model here, and I kept her in the same spot. Okay, so this is not where she ended up being, but you'll see in a second. I kept her in the same spot, and the only thing I moved was this light. Okay, that's it, just this light. So on your left hand side here, you can see this is the light at 1 foot, and if you look, the ISO is 100. Okay, everything else is identical. All right, the light settings the same, the f-stop, your speed, all that good stuff. And if you look here, we're now 6 feet away, which is quite a bit, right? 1 foot to 6 foot, and you'll see the difference in the light quality. And I have a close-up on the next slide, but you'll see this is a jump from 100 to 400, so a 2-stop jump. But the big thing that you'll notice here is you see how there's nice, more defined shadows. That's because the closer you have your light to whatever it is, remember the first the first couple of whatever that touches, it's going to fall off very quickly. So you're going to lose 75% of your light by the time it doubles. All right. So in other words, if you look here, you'll see how abrupt the shadow is. This is all I'm trying to explain to you guys. You're going to get nice, really contrasty shots when it's close like this, because your fall off is going to be very, very noticeable. But once we get the light further back, you'll notice the difference between the highlights and the shadows is not as great. Okay, so you can see how dark they are here, how dark they are here, and you can see how the face is less defined. So this would be more of a flat lighting, and this is more of a contrasty lighting. Okay, everybody following me so far? So again, this will tie in. So here is a close-up shot that I promised. And what you're going to see here is your fall off again. So remember, as it's going across the face, it's losing light, right? So it's going to be very fast when it's close like that, because remember in the beginning you lose 75% of your fall off. Whereas once you're away from the light, and this is at 6 foot, okay, same exact pictures, this one, same settings, this was just 1 foot, this is 6 foot, you're going to see how the shadows are way more gradual here, because remember, once you're away from it, the fall off starts going really slow. Okay? I'm going to pause here for a second and ask you guys if that makes sense. So in other words, the closer the light, the more contrast. I'm trying to just make this like the most basic of concepts. The closer your subject is to the light, the quicker that fall off is, which means it's going to be contrasty, okay? And the further you are away, you see that? Big difference, big difference. How close? Okay, so basically what I would suggest when you're, and this is one of those things, it's like how long is a piece of string? It depends what you're going for, and this will make more sense too as I kind of go into skin tones and whatnot. Me personally, I don't like to have my person extraordinarily close to a light source unless I'm doing like very, very, very dark and moody. I will show examples of that. Otherwise, me personally, I want the light within the first 1 to 2 feet. Okay, I don't go any more than that. So experiment, but really what you should be looking for is when you are in camera or even with your eyes, look to see where those shadows are, okay? If you're not liking what you see, and this is where that muddy skin tone comes from, because I'm going to explain that in a few minutes, because that's always a thing. Like, see how much more the skin looks kind of beat up here, whereas nice clean lines on the one where it's closer. Okay. So, and this is also where people who have studios that are really bright, which we'll get to in a second. I don't want to jump ahead. Okay. So I'll come right back to that. Would it be that much different shooting the right and dropping the shadows in post to get to the left? 100% would not look anywhere near the same, and I actually am going to show you why when we edit. So you have got to get this in camera if you want this look. Unless you want them skitty, those muddy ass skin tones. That's where those come from. That's where the grain comes from. That's where the muddy skin tones comes from, is shooting like this and then trying to pull up the highlights or push the shadows more. Okay, don't do that. I mean, if you got if you got a shot and that's your only option, then yeah, okay. But I'm going to try to get you to where you're kind of just nailing this as we go. And there are times when I want it to look like this where it's more flat, so it really is an artistic thing. So another thing I want to point out too is this is the same thing as your light to your background. So I see people all the time go, I want to get a white seamless and a gray seamless and a black seamless. And I'm like, all you need is a white seamless. You can make a white seamless gray and you can make a white seamless black. The way you do that is just to move your client, okay? So she and the light in every picture are staying exactly the same distance from each other, okay? That's about 1.5 feet away from the light. The only thing moving in this picture, the settings are identical, everything's the same. The only thing moving is her distance from the wall. So this is 1 foot away from the back wall. This is 2 feet away from the back wall, 4 foot, 8 foot. So you can see how because the fall off, we're going to get that immediate 75% loss between these two. You see it? It's white, it's black, and then after that it's going to gradually diminish. Now I'm just going to throw out there that I'm using a disc light. It's round and it has a load of light spill. If you were to use a softbox with the grid, you would have a black background with this, okay? But this is how you change your background. All right. I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, I have a bright, studio. I can't do dark. Yes, you can. You totally can. Okay. So again, keeping the light the same distance from your person. All right, and this is about 1.5 feet. And then moving your people away, you'll see how that affects the background. Okay? We good so far? All right. So everybody's got a studio basically like this. Well, I wish I had a studio like this. I love this. As you can see, I borrowed this from Shutterstock because I didn't have a studio that has bright lights. So this is a question I was asked a ton. You know, Elena, my studio is really bright. I can't shoot Moody. I don't know what to do. So I have a couple of suggestions. Sam says use flags. He's getting ahead of me. But yeah, absolutely, Sam. We're going to definitely talk about that. So the first thing I would suggest, let's say this is your basic studio here. The first thing that you can do to control light is get fucking curtains, okay? Get blackout curtains. I mean that. You can then really sit there and open up and close down, and you could do slits of lighting, and it's very versatile, okay? So that would be my first suggestion, is don't just have shears, have curtains that you can, even if it's just you covering the windows for some shots, that's fine too. So for instance, if I had a bed in this corner here, I would probably kill these two windows and use these two, because I love a rim light and a front light. That's like my go-to, that's my jam. And this would be, you know, the client would be here, so this would be behind the client at a bit of an angle, and then this would be directly in front. So you would get like a nice creamy look, or you could shoot from this direction and you would get a rim on the back of the client, a rim on the front, well, if you had him pointing that way. But anyway, I digress. So get curtains. Your next thing that you're gonna do, if you have, I have some people say, well, hey, Elena, I have a skylight, I have huge windows, I can't cover them. What am I supposed to do? Okay, so when that happens, okay, and you can't put curtains up, which I would highly suggest getting, we got some other things that you can do. So I wanted to show you how I set this up in my basement. You can see my dog was helping, and my husband. So this is my vanity. I turned on all the lights so that it was basically like a second window, and it's directly across, like you see her right back here and she's right there, so it's directly across, not very far. This is maybe a 12-foot room. So I got that. I even left these overhead lights on because I just love a challenge. All right. So this would simulate my bright studio, and I got kind of light coming from everywhere. What can I do? Okay, so here's where Sam was talking about a flag. So if you look here on the left hand side, you will see that first thing I did to get a nice shot was to get the client up all the way against the window. Remember I asked a couple of days ago in group, I said, you know, if you want a dark and moody shot, do you want your client close to the window or do you want them further away? And the answer is, the closer you get them to the window, the more contrast, therefore ergo more moody you're going to get. Because what you would do is you would put your client on the window and then you expose for the highlights. Okay, and this is what that would look like. So this is exposed. It's a little bright, honestly, but this is exposed for the highlights. You can see from the other light, the shadows aren't exactly dampered here, and we get some color cast. I simply had my husband hold up a curtain because I couldn't find my black, the black portion of my reflector. So like, it doesn't got to be fancy, okay? He's just pretty close, and if you look, it's not that he's even blocking the light from that window. He's not, or from the vanity, I mean. He is simply absorbing the extra light coming from this window. That is all he's doing. So if you look at the second picture, how much deeper my shadows are, this is what you want to go for. This is a good base. So if you're shooting in a really bright studio, this is what I would recommend doing, okay? Super simple. If you don't have an assistant, you can like prop up a black, what are those big, what are those called? They make the dioramas like a foam board. You know, they sell them in craft stores. You can just get a black foam board. Anything that's black is going to absorb it, okay? So that's how you would eliminate. And again, you can see I still have the overhead light on. I still have a whole bunch of stuff going on, but this does work, okay? Oh, you guys, I'm about to school you on grain, yo. Okay, so this is the next question I get. Elena, my things are grainy. I get grain. I shoot with a crop sensor. Grain. Okay, first off, let me just tell you that you're probably going to have grain. Foam core. Yes, Sam, I think that's actually what they're called. Thanks. I'm like, I used to get them for art class, but I don't remember because it's been 1,000 years ago. So with your grain, when you're shooting and underexposing anything, you're going to get some grain. That's normal. It's fine. What we don't want is a ton of luminance grain. So there are two types of grain. You need to know what's what. Luminance noise is when the whole photo is affected, not just the shadows, the whole photo, whether it's shadows, midtones, highlights. That comes from shooting a high ISO. Okay, if you shoot a high ISO, we've all seen it. It's very grainy. That is luminance noise. Okay, color noise, which apparently I forgot to put a parentheses there or whatever that is, but whatever. Chrominance. There we go. This comes from long exposure. Now, if you're going over a 2-second exposure, you're going to introduce noise. It's just the sensitivity of the sensor. It's fine. Most of us aren't going to be shooting long exposure. Excuse me. Underexposed shadows are going to cause color noise, and you're going to notice this because it's a small red, green, or blue dots. Okay? I see a lot of people who will use Lightroom to remove noise, and they're like, it's not working, I don't get it, but I look and they're removing the wrong kind of noise. So I'm going to go through a couple things here, and then I'm going to show some examples. So to reduce noise, and some of this is going to be like duh, and some of this might be new to you, so I know we got all different skill levels, so I want to, approach it all. The first thing is going to be shoot a wide f-stop when possible. So obviously you don't want everything to be at f1.4 like I did for 2 years of my life, but you do want to get as low on your f-stop as possible. If you're somebody who's shooting with the kit lens and the kit lens is a 4.5, you're going to have a really, really tough time getting a dark and moody shot. Okay, so that would be my first suggestion. If you don't have a lens that is a 1.8 ish, you don't have to go crazy, and you don't have to get a 1.2 or a 0.90, but you can get nifty 50s in a 1.8 on almost every camera system for like next to nothing. I know Canon's is, I think, like $60, so no excuses there. I shot on a nifty 50 in my Canon for years. Your shutter speed needs to be set at about 1/125th. Unless you are a very shaky person, that's going to be enough to freeze your motion. Okay, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of people submitted files for me to look at with my presets, and I noticed again and again on a lot of people that their f-stop was set pretty well, whatever it was going to be for their sessions or their shots. But when I looked at the ISO, it was really high, and then I look at the shutter speed and it was also high. There's no reason why your shutter speed should be high, because why would you want 1/2000th of a shutter speed? You don't need that. 1/25th is going to freeze most of your stuff, unless you're doing like actual movement, which I would suggest strobe for, but that's a whole different thing. So when you're setting for shooting, you should be shooting in manual. I know that's scary for some people, but like, you need to figure it out. Shoot in manual. It's very simple. Pick an f-stop. If you like, if you want to pick like just kind of a random one for boudoir to start, do like a 2.8. Okay. Do a 2.8, do a shutter speed 125, and then adjust your ISO to until you hit the correct exposure. Your ISO should be kind of like the last thing. Now there are reasons to use higher ISO and stuff like that, but when we're talking about a boudoir application, well, we just need that to be kind of the way that we adjust exposure. Can you do it with a 42.5? Jolene, most likely a 2.5 is still going to be good enough. I would say anything under like a 3.5 would probably be okay. The lower the better, because you can really get some shots. But also remember, if you're somebody who's pushing your f-stop all the way to the very lowest, that's not going to be the sharpest place, and you're going to introduce noise that way. Typically with lenses, their lowest, their widest f-stop's not going to be the sharpest. So if you got a 1.4, it's probably going to be the sharpest at like a 2.2. Okay. But again, this is pixel peeping at this point, though, with today's stuff. Anyway, so again, get off. At least shoot like a priority mode, because I can tell when people are getting, you know, these high shutter speeds and then really high ISO that tells me they're shooting on auto or some weird priority mode that I'm not aware of. But so that would be my biggest thing. If your shutter speed's over 125 and you don't need it to be, then lower it, and then you can adjust that exposure. I do have a 51.8, but my space is super small. Yeah, try. No, your 2.5 should be fine. Give that a shot. Give that a shot. Okay. So the next thing is going to be use fill lighting and lower shadows in post. And this again to help grain. So when I say use fill lighting, I'm going to talk about that later, so it'll tie back into this because I don't want to try to explain that right now. But basically, if you have inky black shadows, they're really hard to pull back without noise. So it's almost like you need to shoot balance, just slightly underexposed in the shadows, slightly overexposed on the highlights. I know everybody says expose for highlights, and that's the easiest way to tell people, but really that's not the best way, in my opinion. And of course, what I do is not necessarily, you know, better than somebody else's. Is just my opinion. Okay, so use Lightroom to remove noise, but do it the right way, and I'll show you guys that too. Because again, the difference between luminance noise and color noise is the difference between it looking good in Lightroom and not. Balance between maintaining highlights without grossly overexposing shadows. So again, you can always recover shadows if they're just slightly underexposed. Even like 2-3 stops, you probably can. You're going to get some grain, but what highlights, if you're 2 or 3 stops over a highlight, you're going to lose detail that you will never be able to retain. So err on the side of saving your highlights, but really try to balance between the two. Banding in the images means your shadows are vastly underexposed. So if you have a crop sensor or you really underexpose your shadows, when you try to pull it back, you'll get weird banding. It looks kind of like a tree. Just to add grain, that will help. Yeah, actually you have to add grain, right? Okay. I'm going to pause for a second. And yeah, there will be a replay. See, I got a false window light set up in my studio. I need to learn to shoot with it or just use my Einstein. So everything I shot here, when I get to these here, this is with the fake window. So it's the fake window I use constantly. It's just easy. It's just easy. And I don't have to worry about hiding shit. I don't mind shooting with strobes. I love strobes. I'm a strobist. That's where I came from. I didn't even know how to shoot natural light. But with all the advancements that are made, unless you're doing something real specific with the strobe, I don't really see the point where that would be better than an LED. Now, mind you, there's more modifiers for strobes, and that really can come in handy, but I remember 10 years ago, if you wanted to get a constant light, you were either going to be 100 million degrees because they didn't make LED ones, or you were going to spend a ton of money getting HRT panels or whatever they were called in the thousands and thousands of dollars. Can you do a fake window with the strobe? Yeah, absolutely. I would probably do, I mean, it just depends what you want to do. Again, I do that as well. You can use your window for your rim light, you know, from the behind, and you can use your strobe for the fill, or you could do vice versa. So, was it HMI? Thanks, Sam. It's been so long. Yeah, you're right. That is correct. See, I need him on here to help me out. Okay. So, where was I at? Okay. So, the skin tones. This is what I was all coming back to. So, you can see here on the left-hand picture, this is my original shot that I showed you guys earlier. Okay. These are, I just put these through a little quick editing just to, you know, correct the color and whatnot. And you can see the one on the left has nice, clean, defined shadows and more depth in the skin than the one on the right-hand side where we're talking, you know, we got these less deep shadows, less deep highlights. It's just more flat. So this is a lot where the muddy skin tone comes from. Now, sometimes people like this. If you are into that really like dark, rich skin tone, this is how you do it. I personally prefer it to be a little cleaner, like it is on the left. Ugh. Excuse me, I have such a bad heartburn today. It's the nerves. Not that I'm nervous, but this is where you get, and it's not the only place you get muddy skin tones, but this is where you start. So again, the picture on the left is the one where we had the light about 2 feet away in that picture, 1.5 feet, 2 feet away. And the picture on the right hand side over here where the lighting is much flatter, that is 6 foot away. Okay? So in other words, if you want less muddy skin tones, you have to balance between being too close to the light and too far from the light. Hope this is making sense, guys. Okay, so I'm going to pause right here for a second before we go into the lighting portion of it and let you guys ask some questions. So I'll give everybody a moment. Get a drink. I'm just going to go ahead and bring up my other stuff while I'm waiting, because like I said, there always is a little bit of a delay here. Get that pulled up for me later. Okay. You know how hard it was for me to find a picture where I overexpose my highlights? Because can I just tell you, I do not do that unless I'm specifically trying to, which is what I was doing with this picture. Eat an apple for heartburn. It works amazing. For real? I always thought apples were acidic. What LED light? Crystal, there are a bunch. I have, if you go under the units tab at the top of the group, there is a bunch of different demos in there. I think I demoed the ring light and some other lights on the shower tutorial, and I demoed some other ones just on some light pattern tutorials. So go in there, you'll see everything, like all the recommendations. What is a kicker light? Did I say kicker? I didn't think I did. A kicker light is basically a way to separate the subject from the background, and usually it's done via a rim light. So in other words, usually it's shining back at the person. If my terminology is right. It's been a while since I've used that one. When I slightly underexpose and bring up in Lightroom, it pulls green. Is that what you meant previously? If you underexpose and it pulls up green, I actually have to see that. I mean, that could be, are you using the dehaze button? Just let me know if you're using the dehaze button or if you're just using the shadows, because it could be from the color noise. That's possible. Then when I show you, it'll, if that's what it is, it should make sense. Let's see, 24 to 70 millimeter 2.5 lens or a 35 1.8 lens. I had to get a new lens next week. I can't decide. If you're wanting to shoot more moody, I would do the 35 1.8. You have much more wiggle room than a 2.5. I personally hate zoom lenses, although I want to take that back. I have a 70 to 200 2.8 G Master, and that is my baby. I love that lens. But I also have the 24 to 70 2.8 G Master, and I don't know. I mean, it's a good lens. I just don't really like it. The exposure slider. I might have you send me some raw files if you don't mind, Megan, because I don't know. Like, the only thing I could think of is if you have the colored noise. So when we look, I'll kind of see. But it also could just be your color temperature. So if you look at mine right now, it looks green on the screen. But that's because there was a bunch of green plants there. Okay. I second Brittany's question. 35 prime, that would be my choice. Well, my choice would be a 50 prime, but if you have a small space or a crop sensor, I definitely would go 35. Okay. So this is a picture where we're overexposed, clearly, right? And like I said, I really had to go looking for this. Really. Now, somebody asked me about histograms, okay? And basically, histogram is supposed to, in a perfect picture, look like a bell curve. So, like, you know, here with a peak in the middle. They don't ever look like that when you're shooting dark and moody because there's too many darks and too many lights in the image, so don't worry about the histogram too much. Now, the one thing that does concern me, if you click these little triangles, it'll show you where you're clipping, and what that means is where you lost details. Now, remember I told you, you can only pull back so much detail from highlights, so let me show you what I mean. The reason that's red is because if I go back here and I try to pull these highlights in, right, you see I lost detail here, okay? That is why it's clipping. This is why I don't recommend that you shoot bright and then try to edit your photos back. So that makes sense. And like, let me just compare this to a picture that is exposed properly. If it loads. Okay, so this is straight out of camera, but if you see, if I lower my highlights, you can see all that goody stuff. Look at that. You see all that? See how I didn't, there's no clipping. Now there's clipping in my blacks, but I care less about that. But, and that's only because I really turned this down. So, do you guys see the difference between those two things? Okay? This is why we expose for highlights. So in other words, when I took this picture, I should have exposed for the brightest part, not her. And you'll notice this is going to really screw up skin tone. You see how it gets ruddy, it's flat, it looks muddy. This is why. This is an example of what not to do. Okay? So, I can't correct, I would love to correct this and like see if I can try to pull my blacks down. It just doesn't. It looks terrible. Right? My goodness. So, and a lot of people, when they're trying to shoot moody, they'll go, well, you know, hey, it's backlit, but, you know, I just can't get it. I can't get it to look right, you know, and I could sit here and kind of play with it and get it better, I guess, but it's just not, right? We don't have any of her body turned toward the light. All the light's hitting the back of her, and that's where the problem lies. Now, this is what most people would consider bright and airy. I do not think that's what bright and airy means. So if you guys are interested in me doing one of these for bright and airy, let me know, because I also can shoot that very well, and I have my own interpretation of course. So this is why we can't go back in and go, oh look. And also, if you're so bright when you're in camera like this, it's really hard to see where your light is hitting. All right, now if you look at this, it's a lot easier to see where the light's hitting. Let me go back to there. So I can see these little nuances here of where the lights hit. Where the lights hit. Stop it. You're trying to get me in trouble. You can see where the little nuances are hitting, okay? So what I always do, the very first thing I do when I'm editing for dark and moody, this is how you want to shoot first off, okay? And you can see I got her so close to the glass that my fall off is almost immediate. Alright? If I wanted to move her a little bit away, I could have it a little bit more contrasty. I love this like really rim, like hard lighting. I just love it. Not hard, but sharp. Okay? So I'm going to show you what each slider does really quick so you guys know. I'm going to show you on a different picture just because she has some nudity going on there. I don't want to brighten that area up. Okay, so for instance, this is what your exposure does. So your exposure is going to bring up the entire image, okay? Easy enough. Your contrast is going to either make your image flatter, or it's going to make it more contrasty, okay? So I mean, that one's pretty simple. Highlights is literally just going to affect the brightest part of your image, okay? And whites, because people confuse the two, whites is going to be anything in the image that is basically a neutral white, regardless if it's a shadow, a mid-tone, or a highlight, okay? So you'll notice if I lighten this up, everything goes up. Whereas if I do the highlights, you don't see it back here or here, okay? And it's literally the same exact thing. Anybody else ever hit that frickin' arrow and then it takes 100 years for it to come back? My Lightroom's been running like crap lately, so I apologize. I blame the online. One moment. There we go. please? Can I have my panel back? Thanks. Okay, so shadow is going to be the same thing. So you're going to notice your shadows are only going to affect the area that's dark, okay? Whereas blacks are going to brighten whether they are darker, mid-tone, or shadow, okay? So that's the difference between the two. Now, I'm going to hop back over, and there's other tabs down here. There's like dehaze. I don't hate this, but if you pull your dehaze too much, it'll pull colors. That's why I was asking earlier about it. So let me go back to this little guy. Actually, you know what? Let's go with this one. Yeah. Okay. So it's not even it's not even that it's the computer that's the problem. It's literally the internet lagging and Lightroom lagging. I have a huge, massive computer that should be able to run space and time itself. So let me show you what I do when I import. Okay. So here is my image. You can see that I expose for the highlights. Okay, so nothing is overexposed. You can look over here. Look how flat this thing is. Look at this flat little sucker. So nothing. Now if I could have exposed like this, okay, that's what a lot of people will do, and then they'll try later to lower their shadows and whatever. It just doesn't it doesn't work as good. So I'm just a little underexposed here. I'm not crazy, all right, just a little bit. The first thing I do is I pull up my exposure so I can see the colors, and if it's not in camera, this is an older session I was really bad about. I just did auto white balance. I've thus learned not to do that. I always set my camera pretty much at 5600 no matter what the light is. I know it sounds weird, but hey. So the first thing you do is go to auto, so it will color correct for you, or if that doesn't look good, you can use your little picker tool here and just select a part in the image, okay, where it is a neutral color. That looks good. Okay, that's the first thing I do, and then I put my exposure back where it belongs. The next thing I do is I always lower my highlights. All right, the reason I do this is because now when I pull up my exposure, it's going to give me a nice blend here, okay? And I can even go further as pull up these shadows more. It all depends what I want, okay? But you can see how I'm not getting muddy skin tone. Now you can see I shot at ISO 320, so we have some noise in here, which is a great thing to jump into. So let me show you what I was talking about. Now you can't really tell right now, but when I go down here to the detail palette, I will tell you I typically leave my sharpening at 0. I do that in Photoshop, but you can do it either way. It doesn't matter. I only use auto white balance. Sometimes auto white balance is great, and sometimes it is just so frickin' far off. So if you're doing like any kind of colored lighting, or if there's a color cast from anything, you might as well just give it up. So this is how much noise is in here, okay? And I would say this is a little noisier than I would typically give, but again, this was 2 years ago before I knew things. If you look here, I'm going to jump this color noise. Now remember from the PowerPoint, the color noise is going to show up as red, green, and blue dots, okay? And that's from underexposure. So most of the time, the big issues are going to be with this. Now I wouldn't set it that high, but I just want to show you the difference, because you can't really see all of those dots until you get rid of them. At least I can't. I'm, again, colorblind, so I just know that it's less chunkier looking. Okay, so that takes care of a lot of it right there. And then, like I said, I always go like right in the middle for those because it just seems to work most of the time. Then you can add your noise reduction. So the rest of this, where you see the grain across the image, it's not just in the dark areas, it's everywhere, right? So that's going to be your luminance noise. And if you notice, I barely put that up. I like a little grain in my picture, to be quite honest. And you can kind of fiddle around with the contrast and whatever. But that will take care of the majority of your issue. So let me show you kind of a before and after. And you could do more if you want. And honestly, if you do this, thank you for your donations. If you do this, then you will get smoother skin, so you won't have to do as much editing anyway. So I use that trick a lot, so you can kind of see down here the textures and stuff, and if I turn that back on, you can see it kind of helps with that. So a little suggestion for you. So that is definitely where how I remove my ISO. And then as far as the picture, if I want it to be more moody or something like that, I can drop my blacks and I can increase my whites, so that'll give me that nice contrast look. Just that easy. So most of the presets that I made for this are going to drop the highlights, increase the shadows, and then it's kind of up to you to play with your exposure and your contrast. So you can kind of make it brighter, darker, whatever fits your mood. And if you want to, make it more crazy, that's pretty much all there is to it. It's very simple, but you'll notice that I have no mud in there. Everything looks quite nice. Okay? It's seriously amazing to me that you do this colorblind. There was like that one guy who played the piano and he couldn't hear, so I mean... Don't worry if you're late, you can catch the rest on replay. So, I'm going to reset this, and I'm going to show you guys the basic presets here. So, you'll notice I have a lot of presets. Oh, I'm about to blow your guys' mind. Okay, so these two the basic set here, the basic moody correction, the basic warm correction, I'm going to give to everybody. It's going to be up in my store tomorrow. You can just download those two for free. Make it a little easier on yourself. But to use it, the first thing you want to do, remember I said you got to look at your colors, do your auto, which that was good enough for me. Make sure that your color temperature is correct. If it is not, the presets will look funky, okay? We don't want that. So if I look at the basic moody correction, that's a one click and it does that. Now you can just use your exposure and you can put it where you want, okay? But you'll notice everything's already preset in here. I believe that I added just a little bit of that in there because we all need to have a correction there. And then you guys can literally just play with one tab at a time and get used to it. This is all it is. It's a slider, guys. Just slide it and go, ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like this better. Ooh, that looks good. Ooh, what does this look like? What does that look like? That is it. Simple. Okay? Now is again one little preset. Now let me show you if I didn't color correct this and I went to this correction, is it gonna look funky? Okay, because that's how it was shot. Now I can still go up here and move it around or hit auto, but I would do it first so that you can hover. So in other words, if I do auto, then I can kind of go through my different presets and see which ones I like and how they look. Okay? If you don't correct your colors first, they're going to look stupid. Don't do that to me. So I'm going to pause for a second. See what questions we have so far. And then I'm going to do another example. So again, this is what you want your picture to come out ideally. Alright? If you're somebody that has a Sony like mirrorless or whatever mirrorless, this is great because you can look through the electronic viewfinder and you can see exactly what the picture is going to look like, whereas a DSLR does not do that. DSLR, when you look through the viewfinder, you see just a average metered, picture, okay? If you use your live view feature on your camera, so you're looking at it through the screen, you will see your adjustments. You should, at least. Now, I can tell you that if you don't have those options and you should just shoot a DSLR and it doesn't have a live view option, take a picture, stop, pull it up, focus, or zoom in and look at your highlights and see if they look good. If they don't, make an adjustment. Do it again. Do it again, do it again, do it again. Okay. So with this one, it's literally the same thing. And I'm going to show you guys again. First thing is going to be auto. Okay. And like I said, I personally like the dropper tool better, but auto works too. The first thing I always do is drop my highlights. I could bring up my exposure slightly if I want, and I could bring back in my shadows, and I love that. I just maybe want a little bit more contrast. If you want more of a pop on the brights, you can do that with the whites. If you want to make it darker or more matte, You can do that with the black. I pretty well like that, and actually I'd probably do this. So in other words, when I put the exposure up, it kind of made the shadows more than I wanted. So I'm going to lower that. I like that. And then I'll probably just bring my shadows back in a little. That way I'm getting kind of an even. Okay? Do you always use the same profile? No. So I was going to get into that next. I just want to get the basics before I blow people's minds with profiles, okay? Alright. See how cool that is? How nice that looks? And like this one again, it's got some noise in there. Nobody cares. Like, unless you're blowing this up onto a billboard, you're not going to really see it. Now, if it's a super amount of noise, which right here is not, in my opinion, but you can, again, use those little sliders down there and remove some noise. Okay? Reset that so I can't see anything. So, now, to answer your questions about profiles. Now, a lot of you guys don't know this. If you look over here, and I hear this so many times when people shoot, I'm going to grab this picture, when people shoot SODI especially, they go, oh God, the color is terrible. It doesn't look anything like what I shoot with. So just so you know, when you're shooting raw, which you all should be, the preview that you see on your screen is whatever preset that you baked in. So if you pick, I like Vivid because I can see the colors. I pick Vivid, which means the JPEG preview will show up in Vivid. Okay. Now, when you move the raw files to your computer, they're going to look completely different because there's no pre-baked preview. All right. But what you can do is you can match whatever you selected for your camera in the profile. So if you click this little button over here, and it will always default with Adobe Color. And Adobe Color, I fucking hate it. There's sometimes it's a good base for presets, but on its own, not so much. So the first thing you'll notice is that when you open this tab, and basically all a profile is like color grading before you get to Lightroom. So in other words, a lot of these, like as you go down, you'll see that I have ones that I made myself. Okay, so as you go down, you can see different ones, and like I like this is a raw. This is literally what my raw files look like. I do this to pull shadows and stuff if I want, but these will apply before, so this will now be my base. Okay, and now I can apply a preset to it if I want to add something on top. So profiles are pretty cool like that. Now it comes with some basic ones. All right, so you're gonna have your Adobe ones, and they're all going to be a little different. I prefer, out of the Adobe, out of all of them, I prefer the portrait, I think, and the standard to me looks best. So you'll see there's not like a huge difference between those two. That one there is. Okay? And like I said, these are profiles you can pick before you do anything else. Now, if you keep going down, you're going to see camera matching. That's going to be where your camera's profiles are loaded in. So these are the ones I actually have on my Sony. So when I shoot Vivid. Whoops. So that's what I see when I shoot. That's what the back of my camera looks like. Okay? So if I want it to look exactly the same and match my colors and everything, I'm going to pick that. But you can also use it artistically. And there's going to be some built-in ones that you actually can get from Lightroom. These are already in there. So you can see, like, just these are really neat. If you've never used them, they're freaking cool. Okay? So you can use this as your base. Like, let's say, wow, I like that. Maybe, and you can even blend it with the previous one. Okay, so if I wanted that to be my base, now I can adjust things based on this. All right, there's, like, that's pretty cool, right? And then I can come over here and even add more to it. Maybe not that one. Come on. Good Lord, there we go. I love getting hung up. So it's a really cool way to kind of layer things. And I'm thinking about doing profiles, profile stuff like presets for you guys too, because I do like mine the best. I'm sorry. So it's kind of funny with the presets. I really typically don't use them, even though if you look over here I have like 1,000. I make them all the time. They're super easy to make. You can customize them. So like with mine, like say you're like, man, Elena, I really like this one here. I really like sugar on this picture. Hold on, I'm gonna be picky. So, like, I really like this one, Elena, but I just wish that the blacks would have stayed here, and then maybe, like, the shadows were down more, and that's my preset. So you can literally come up here, click on this, and then create your preset. You can name it whatever you want, and you can save it for later use. What? What? I do that all the time. Okay. So, with that said now, a lot of the presets I made are you're going to see different, I try to keep a lot of them Adobe just in case. I didn't use anything that wasn't available to everybody, but see, like, some of them are different, okay? And you can actually use these sliders to kind of change the preset in that way too. So, what does Elena use? It depends. I am a sucker for mine, and again, like I said, it's interesting as I put these presets out that most people prefer a warm tone, and I don't. I prefer a blue tone in my stuff because it just, to me, it's the most vintage looking, and I really just like vintage stuff. That's blue tone, guys, okay? I love that. That's perfection to me. Anyway, so I'm going to pause again. Questions? You guys are learning some stuff, aren't you? Huh? I'm going to take a drink break while you guys are typing up any questions you might have. I'm going to double check my notes, make sure I'm on track. Okay, yeah, I think we're doing good. I'm going to hop over here, skin tones, profiles, noise, color correcting, loading presets. Okay, I think that I'm going to do another demonstration on another. Let's see, let's do this guy here. Okay. So here's another image. Let me reset this guy. I'm editing while watching. Learning so much. Yay! And it's okay if you're late, Sarah. I'm going to put it on the replay. This is so helpful. Good. You know, I really want to give you guys content that's going to be helpful. Like, if you don't walk away with getting better pictures from me, I didn't do my job. So here is another image, and then this one, and the reason I pulled this one is because if you look at it, this is outside. The only thing between her and the outside is a roof. Okay, so this would be an equivalent to a really bright studio if I had exposed this for her. Okay, I wonder if I let do it. Come on, do it. Huh. Photoshop didn't do a bad job. Okay, so if you think of it like that then, and you look at these shadows, and they're very, very, very soft. So she's not really close to the main source because it's the sun, right? So she's going to have a less contrasty look. Now this still is Moody. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do color correction there just by hitting auto, or if you want to use your eyedropper and find something white, I actually think that's better. This is what it would look like, okay? So I'm going to do the same thing I do every time. I'm going to lower my highlights, and I'm going to increase my shadows almost all the way. And then I'm going to use my slider, and I'm going to use my contrast, and I'm going to go, ooh, that looks pretty good. Oh, I like that. I actually do like that. I don't like the really dark stuff. I like the in-between. But you can use this to pump up your whites a little bit, give it more contrast even, and you can even lower this if you want to, okay? So you can kind of play between those, but it looks great like it is, right? Like, right? Okay. And you can see, again, we're not talking like super dark stuff, but you guys would agree this is Moody. Now you can underexpose it a little and even pop out the whites even more, so it's more like that. But that's up to you. Now for you guys who donated and got the presets that are getting sent out tomorrow, this is like going to be even easier for you. So again, all I'm doing, just auto correcting, and then I'm going to just pick the first one here. So there's two different presets. This is I think it ended up being 15 with 2 each, so 30 total. So you'll see there's Big Mood by itself here, and then you got Big Mood S. The S after these presets means soft, and I did that because when you have images that have less less contrast, like these where you're outside and using that inverse square law we talked about earlier. We got those nice gradual shadows rather than the quick fall off. They're going to look best with these kind of, oh, these presets are so good. I love them. But you can see these are one click, so I didn't change anything over there. Now, you're going to have to change them, don't get me wrong. But I mean, for it to be as close to that as it is crazy. And so like this one, I feel like it's a little too matte, so I'd probably just add some contrast back, maybe drop my black. It's a little, yeah, that looks awesome. So those are going to be super easy. Again, all you got to do is auto, and then just hover over your stuff and see which ones you like. Now, if you're looking at them and you shoot underexposed, you can pull your exposure up first, kind of where you want it, and then see if you like it, okay? And you can, some of them will look better. Like this one, I think I like the one made for the more contrasty images better. So basically, if you look, the one made for the more contrasty, the one without the S, they're going to have your shadows pushed all the way up and your highlights pushed all the way down. Whereas if you look at these ones, it's going to be relatively the same, but the contrast is going to be a little different. And it's just going to give you a more flat profile. So basically the ones without the S are for a deeper profile. The ones with an S are for, you know, softer. And I'm going to demonstrate that on like a darker picture here. Okay, this is out of the camera. And again, I'm just going to do my auto. And I'm just going to pick one. Let's see, but this is the soft, but see how it knocks down the shadows a little bit? Excuse me, the highlights. This one actually looks darker, but it's not. Once I raise it up a little, you'll see I'm going to have a lot more shadows, and that's a lot more contrast. So that's how that one's made for it. If I had done it this way, you'll see it's a lot flatter. Now they both look kind of good. So it depends what you're going for. All right? You guys, I love these all. See, I like these blue tone ones because I'm a crazy girl. But see, and you can kind of see the difference. One's going to be more contrast, one's going to be less. So it's just really a preference at this point. Where this really matters is when you have front lit pictures, okay? So like this. And you're trying to put a preset made for a dark thing on here, it's going to blow out a lot of these highlights and it's going to look not great. So let me just give you a for example here. Let's do this one. So looks okay now. If I try to push this up a little bit, you'll notice I'm overexposing my highlights before I'm getting my shadows back in. So that's not really what I want. See what I mean? It's kind of muddy. So that one does not work with this picture, but if I go to the soft version, you're going to notice how much nicer that looks. The reason I did this, you guys, because check this out. So let's use, I like chill on this picture, so I'm going to use chill. Okay, so this is the soft one, so you can see it's softening up those shadows because it's front lit. I don't want her to look like super dark here. It just does not look good. And I can come to this other picture, and again, this one's front lit again. Oops, let me reset that. I was playing with these earlier. So this one's front lit again, so I could go either way on this picture. Let's see which one I like the best. Well, remember, first we want to do auto. And then we're going to do... There's the original chill for more contrasty, which I kind of like that because we don't want to overexpose those shadow or those highlights, right? Well, let me see softer version. Pull that. Ooh, I like that better. Okay, so nicer. All right, but this one here, which I already did, you can see this one's a more moody set right here. We got some dark shadows there. So if I put the chill and soft, it's going to bring those shadows up. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it's not as much contrast as I like. So instead, I'm going to go over to the one made for the darker set, and I'm going to pop that up a little. Now, if I put this image next to these two, come on, sucker. There we go. Give my computer about 75 years to load this. And you're going to see how these look. Excuse you. I missed one. This is literally like a visual representation of how my brain works. It's like I click a button and it lags for a while. So you can see, even though I use two different presets between this image here and the other two images on her back, that they still have the same color tone. You guys, is that not the coolest thing? So I'm going to pause while this thing catches up here. Can't wait to use these. Thank you so much for all you do. It's really going to help me so much in my editing, which I'm not crazy about doing. You're going to love these. Like, seriously. We did, it's Beauty and the Beast, technically. She brought in a yellow thing and a rose, and I'm like, okay, we're definitely doing Beauty and the Beast. Yep, Belle, exactly. I love blue tone edits. I'm leaning toward blue tone now. I love the blue tone. That's, like I said, I don't like the warm stuff. I tried to put some in here, and I got some really awesome ones. And I also got some, like, red tone, pinky tone. So there's really something for everybody in this pack. But you can see how this goes, how this makes sense. I love this, okay? And I don't know if you guys knew this. I'm just going to give you a little for quickie thing. Let's say you have two pictures that are pretty well, or a set of pictures even, that are pretty well the same. Let's use this guy over here. This is how I do my editing, okay? So we're going to start the same thing, auto. Okay, I'm going to pull this up so I can actually see what the hell I'm doing, and I'm going to pick one, let's see, being that this is a really backlit image, I'm probably going to go with one of the non-S ones. Look, I got to see which ones I like, and some of these are going to look crazy, but they're not. It's just I have my stuff turned all the way up. I like that. That one looks good. I can't decide. These are all so good. Okay. Not to toot my own horn, but toot toot beat beat. Okay, so let's do chill. And like honestly, if you throw something on there and it looks like, to me this is still too green, then I'm gonna probably push it more toward the magenta. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So I just feel like this did not do a good job with color correcting at all. Hold on for a second. Let me look. Okay, yeah, that's not too bad. Let's do Hit Me Up. Oh, it's soft. No, I like that one. Okay. So once you have like what you like on one image, if you have one that's similar, you can simply hold your control button. I don't know what that would be on Mac. Somebody help me out. But you hold your control button and you can click another picture next to it. Okay? And then you do sync. I do not have the exposure set or white balance, but you can click those to, you know, to have them be the same. And I just sync that, and what that's going to do, if I go to this other picture, it gave it the exact same stuff as the other one. That way, they go together, and then I don't have to sit there and fiddle with that one. Command, thank you. I don't know anything about Mac. I have an iPhone, that's it. But see how these match? Look at that. That was one click, guys. So I don't know if you guys know about syncing settings, but that's basically all you do. So let's see if I do this picture. Come on. Oh, come on. And you can do, like, you can grab a whole row of them. You just hold down your shift button and then click one and then highlight however many you want, like that. And you can do the same thing. Whatever your original is what it's going to pull the settings from, okay? I'm just going to pull these two right now. You go to develop. Alright. So, same thing here, auto. I'm going to raise this up a little bit so I can see what's going on, and I'm just going to pick, I just love chill. I actually like the darker one on this one, so we're going to go with that. And then if I can hold my control button and select the one next to it, and oops, helps if I select it, hit sync. You can copy and paste the settings too. I just think sync is easier. And then I can see how that one looks too. Let's see how it came out. I think I tell my computer come on 1,000,000 times a day. I'm about to throw mine out the window. Like I said, it's not my computer though. Come on, buddy. There we go. So see how they match up real nicely? Y'all, you could sell that I could sell that image just like that. Just saying, although I would clean up this eyelash a little. But like, see how easy that is, right? Did I just help you with your with your editing time? So I'm going to show you guys how to import presets. So if you get the free ones, you know how to do it, and if you donate it and got the other ones, then you'll know how to do it. It's super simple. So basically, you want to be in your develop tab, okay? And all you got to do is go up to this button, hit import presets, and these will be available for download. So all you gotta do is download them, and when you save them, you want to save the folder to your desktop so it's easy to find. Okay? Usually with most computers, when you're downloading something, it'll pop to the bottom left hand side, and you can do a right click and do show what's in folder, and then you can kind of move it where you want. But you need to know where it's gonna go. So all you got to do is, you don't have to unzip the file or nothing, okay? Like, that's how easy it is. All you got to do is click it and hit import, and that's it. It won't let me do it, and it's going to hang it up because I already have them. But that's literally it. Simple. Simple, guys. Simple. How do I donate? So to donate, you would, if you go to the top of the page under the Now That's a Mood tab or event, you'll see a description box, and it tells you basically I have a PayPal you can donate to, or I have a Venmo. If you donate via PayPal, these will get sent out tomorrow to the email that is listed in your PayPal account. If they are, if you do it through Venmo, then it sends me a message, and I just respond to the message with the link. Okay? I know some people have sent a couple other different ways, so if I miss you on accident, just remind me. I have most people written down, but I had a couple like weird things, and I'm scatterbrained, so just FYI. Just saying hello, this is amazing to watch after a bit of MJ. I'll have to watch it again later. I'll have to watch it again after I have some MJ too. Okay, so basically this is it, you guys. Like, I hope that made that super simple, but I kind of want to walk you through how to use the presets now. And I'm going to use some stuff from Samantha. I believe her last name's Bishop. Now my brain went blank. So these are not my images. This one, the one next to it, and the one next to that. Although I wish they were, 'cause it's hot. So she's a self-proclaimed worm shooter. Okay, which no problems with that. But I'm still gonna hit auto here, and you see as soon as I hit auto, it's gonna get us back to what I would consider probably pretty close to where we're at. So if I was just doing a basic retouch on this without using the presets, again, I would lower my highlights, because see, that was too much on that leg there, if you ask me. And I'll bring up my shadows a little bit and like a little contrast, and that's it. I mean, boom, right? Like, guys, how difficult is that? So, and this is of course a frontlet, so it's going to be a little different, but same concept, okay? Now, if I come over here and I look through, I can see which ones I'm going to like best. With hers, I have found that this particular image, I liked the more moody version, so the ones without the S, even though this is a frontlit. That's just a preference. Again, you can use them on whatever you want, but you're going to find that the ones without the S are going to be better for really heavy contrast images that are backlit, whereas these are going to be better for the softer. Yeah, you can donate from Canada. I believe that the PayPal is the option you guys have. Fellow Canadians, let me know if that's correct. I can't remember which one y'all got. So I'm just going to kind of walk through. I like how... Thank you, guys. Every time I get a donation through Venmo, I get that alert. So it's been going crazy lately. So I appreciate all of that, because this helps me continue doing this. Because then, I like doing this a lot. I don't mind cutting back a little bit on my shooting even to do more educational. I just need to make sure that I can, maintain that. So, again, and let's do it this way. So we got 3 images here. So we got this kind of frontlit. Her second one is another frontlit, but more of the face, which is really pretty. And then this one is still a frontlit, but more moody lighting, more contrast to it. Okay. So let's start with this one, and let's say I really like, let's look at couple of these. I really like Peaches on hers because she does shoot warm. I just think it looks so good. I probably would go, I want Peaches or Peaches and Cream. Which one do you guys think? I like Peaches. Yeah, that one looks great. Okay. Yeah, look at that. That's good, huh? I really wish you guys could see this because, okay, for instance, I edit on a 4K BenQ. It was a $1,100 screen, but it has, I don't know if it'll change for you guys. I'm gonna try this, but it's got options on the screen where you can see Adobe RGB, which is what I work in. It's the biggest amount of color to play with. I don't know if it's going to change or not. I'm kind of waiting for it to catch up. But I can see it in sRGB, which is what we see on our web page, our websites. That's why a lot of times when we edit, it looks different on the website than it does on our own computers. And it also has a black and white, which I think is kind of cool. But sometimes when I'm sharing my screen, I don't think you guys are seeing it in Adobe RGB the same way I am, so it may look slightly different. Do you use Photoshop at all for editing? Yes. Most of my editing is done in Photoshop. I do all of my color correction, tone corrections, all that stuff in Lightroom, and all of my skin work and basically any finishing touches is going to be done over in Photoshop. Although, like, realistically, I would have no problem handing this client this picture as is. Like, that's just pretty. So I guess it doesn't change. You can't see it on your screen, which is a bummer. But yeah, there's a little button I could push and it makes the screens look different. But anyway, so let's say we like this one, okay? Now, we could copy it. These two are close enough here that I can just do that sync thing we were talking about, right? Let's see. Let's see. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. So let me put this back to auto. So this is why I don't like to sync the color temperatures too much. Although that looks pretty good. So that was, again, just a little exposure adjustment. I'm going to pull this up in the library so I can see it side by side. Oh yeah, love it. Okay. So see, nice tones there, nice peachy tones. And then we'll go to this very last one. And this one, like I said, it's a bit darker and the color temperature is a little bit more off. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. If you have a lot of color cast, it's going to be harder for, it's going to be harder for it to correct when I hit the wrong button. It's going to be harder for it to correct. Now that's pretty close, but I would go a step further and use the white dropper and see it's going to add a little bit more of that pink back in than it was missing. Alright, so we used, I used Peaches and Cream. Is that the one I used? I think. Now I forgot. I think so. So this is the one made for more contrasty, and again, we're going to kind of come in, and you can play with the exposure and the contrast to see what you like. Although realistically, I'd probably go with the soft. I like that better. Yeah. But then now if I pull these three up again, you guys can see how good they go together. So for those who worry about consistency and tone, even across different lighting scenarios, these presets are going to help you out a ton. So let me know what you think. I'm going to pause for a stretch. Oh. Pausing for a stretch. Now remember, not all presets are going to look great on all images, but I'd say mine covers about 85 to 90% of them. So, and really, the even the ones I had more of a problem with, they were really mixed tone images, meaning that they required a lot of color correction. And once you get the color correction down, they're going to look good, because it's all going to be really about that. So, and I'm just going to, again, kind of, let's do one more demo here. So you can, again, just slide your stuff up. And when you're looking at these, they may look a little dark. Like this one is for those backlit images, so it's going to look darker when you initially pull it up. But when you adjust your exposure, that'll make all the difference. Now see, this one's blowing out the highlights here. So I wouldn't use that one. I would use the soft version. although I forgot which one I clicked on, but you get the idea. So I'm pausing again for some questions. Let me know what you guys think. How is it 7:30? I was like, oh, I'm going to keep this under an hour. Let me put my clown nose on. All right. You guys. I think... yeah. I think that about covers that stuff. So let's see. So true. Money wasted on some terrible ones. You know, I went through a preset buying phase when I very first started, and I think my very first ones were Embrace Nation, and I absolutely loved them. They were very well done. They were pretty, but I didn't, they were on the warmer side. Actually, no, not all of them was. I don't think I really knew what I was doing exactly with presets when I got them, so I felt like very limited by them. But once I really learned that there's, you know, just really a couple things, and you can get in more depth, and I can always do that in the future, but once you get through a couple things where you understand how the shadows and the highlights and all that kind of play together, and it just comes with practice, it makes all the difference. And color correcting is like the biggest issue I see with people in terms of their images looking unprofessional. You can correct that in camera. Okay, I did a whole tutorial on YouTube that on creative color balance or creative white balance and how to utilize that and how to, you know, pick what Kelvin to use and how to meter. That's all up there, so I can always add that link if you guys want to see it. It's already there, available to anybody. Kind of off topic, but if shooting with a ring light, natural light, you had mentioned changing from auto white balance. Which setting would you switch it to? I shoot in Kelvin. And you can really, like, if you're shooting with the ring light that we have in the group, it has a variable temperature. So it goes from, I think, like 3,500 up to like 5,600, something like that. So you can dial in what you want for the scene. So what I typically will do is match the camera to the to whatever light source. So if I'm shooting with a light source that's 3,500, I'm going to set my Kelvin to 3,500. If I'm shooting in natural light, I'm going to shoot it between 4,600 and 5,600. So really it's just knowing what Kelvin's for. And again, that video that I did on YouTube is vastly educational on that. Can you do a tutorial for shooting with a ring light? Let me add that to my list of things, but absolutely. I think really just any kind of artificial shooting with ring light. And everything I did on here, it applies to artificial lighting too. So when we were talking about like the rim light and the backlight and all that stuff, you can still do that. I mean, it's actually easier to do in my opinion with a artificial light, because you can aim the damn thing. So imagine this thing being the window, or imagine it being, you know, your ring light or your whatever light. And the fall off pattern is going to be different depending on what you're using, but your application is going to pretty well stay the same. But yeah, I wrote that down. And some people don't have Kelvin. Some people have cameras that don't have Kelvin. Then I would shoot for daylight white balance, probably. It's probably going to be the closest thing to 5,600. Okay? So, again, I'm just going to kind of roll through a couple of these. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anything, because I got a couple questions for you guys too. Got color grading. Okay, cool. I think this is pretty much it. So I'm going to kind of walk through these really quick and just show you what they look like. Let me load her image up here. And this will give you guys an idea how to play again. So, and again, if you shoot a certain way, and like honestly, I don't blame Samantha for shooting warmer. It looks more appealing and more soft on people's skin, especially if you're like a person who likes to show the back of the camera like I am. If you show them this, sometimes they'll freak out because like it just looks too real. Because like, let's face it, that's what they look like in real life, right? And you'll also notice that it's just not as soft. All right. And just so you know, when I did the soft versions of these, I made sure to soften up the skin too. So you're welcome. Um, so automatically one click with those front ones are going to give you a nice powdery look. Like, I just love them. But you see, if I go through these and I don't correct it, they're going to look really fucking weird. And that's going to be anybody's presets. So if you get presets and you just start doing this and you're like, man, why does this look like shit? It's because it's not color temped right. So hit that auto and then do it. All right. So I'm going to keep with the soft versions here for this picture, so you can kind of see. I love Big Mood. It's a very magenta, and I'm just here for it. And I mean, if you want to, you can definitely come in here and play around and get different tones. Like, if you don't like it as magenta, you can definitely pull your slider a little bit. I don't like to do that when I'm creating presets, because I don't want your sliders to be all over the place when it wasn't white balanced the right way, okay? So I always leave these alone and let you guys adjust them, okay? So there is your Big Mood. We're going to go with our black. I just love these black and whites. And again, really, I'm just talking about this exposure. Look at that. Isn't that so pretty? I like that one too. Okay. So we're going to do Chill. Another one of my absolute favorites. Now, you can also play with the moodiness by how bright you want an image. So, like, if I want to go a little darker on this one, it's going to give me more of that skin tone rather than if I blow it out. Okay, so I'll see people do this with presets too. Don't do that. You should really do minute adjustments with your exposure, and then the rest really should be done with your contrast, your blacks, and your shadows. Okay? And okay, maybe that's been my problem with other presets. I will tell you that yes, that probably didn't help, but there are some presets that really suck. Okay? I've come across ones that are great, and I've come across ones that are just awful. So if it's from a pretty reputable thing and most people are getting good results, then more than likely it's the color balance and how it's shot. Because, like, for instance, if I put this soft thing onto a very black picture like this, it probably wouldn't look good. Let's try it. If Lightroom will want to try it. So here's my really dark picture. I'm just going to do my auto. Let's do something. Oof, we don't want to go that bright. Let me pick this further out picture. I ain't trying to get in trouble. There we go. Okay, so we'll do our auto white balance, and then we're gonna do the darker glow up there. Okay, so yeah, but see, if I do this brighter stuff, it just, I mean, it just looks funky. It's not really made for it. Although that is kind of pretty. I digress. Anyway. So let me get back to this main picture, and I want to roll through these presets so you can see what they're supposed to look like. Alright. So then we got Glow Up, which is a kind of a purpley. I really like Glow Up. And if you brighten this up and you feel like it's too bright, you can always pull those shadows and your whites down just a little bit. See that? How pretty! Okay. I feel like this should be just the slightest bit that way. Okay. And like you can, like I said, you can play with it after the fact. So we got Glow Up, Hit Me Up. Let's see how pretty that is. This is more of a matte. If you don't like matte, you can add the contrast in, or you can let it go. I like the matte. Honey is one of those that I feel like you go a little brighter and a little more contrast, and it gets really pretty. Right? And you see how very minute I'm moving these things over here. The low-key soft, a little bit darker. You'll notice the blue presets really vibe better on a little bit more underexposed. You got to be careful because you don't want to go too orange in the skin here. And if you ever feel like a preset's making something a little too orange, you would just scroll on down here to your orange, and you can just pull that down. Okay? Let me just undo that. And then let's go. I'm going to reset this because I keep moving things everywhere. There we go. And then we got, they do low key already? Yeah. Luna, one of my favorites. And like, here's the thing with Luna. If you go bright, it's going to look like shit. Don't do that. Luna is meant to be like moonlight, like underexposed, a little dark, like a little mysterious. Look how pretty that is. Looks like moonlight's on her. That's why it's called Luna. Or maybe it's because I'm a lunatic. I don't know. And then we got Orange Crush, another one I really like. Let's go with the brighter Orange Crush. And this is another matte, and of course if you want, you can pull that in there. You guys, how pretty are these? I'll be really honest. I've never sat down and tried to get, and like you can see how many presets I have made in my life. Like I go crazy with them. Like look at me. For every set I have, every freaking set I have, you guys. I've never tried to get ones that would work across a set of images. And like I spent so much time on these, and I'm really, really proud of them. And I actually think I'm going to use them. And I had a moment, like a thought for a moment, I'm like, I kind of want to keep these for me. But you know I didn't do that, so. Because I love you guys. See, I paid a small amount and got a ton of presets that I don't honestly like. Really just wanted to with the overlays that came with them. I think we've all done that. We've bought presets really like hopeful, and they're like, oh, these kind of suck. These are going to be good. I love these. So I'm going to go through Peaches. You guys, it's so pretty. I love Peaches. And again, if it's too much orange for you, then you can just pull that slider down. But man, I love that vibe. This is literally a whole mood. This pack is a literal whole frickin' mood. Okay. And then we got this Peaches, which is soft. And again, I'm just messing with the exposure here. Look how pretty that looks too. And that's like a peachy pink. Sugar is one that I really like too. I feel like with Sugar, you have to give it some contrast. How much depends on the image. And if you feel like it's a little magenta pulling, just pull it to the green side. But isn't that just like the prettiest? I just love that. Then we got Tangerine. So I don't know if anybody here listens to the Glass Animals, but I was listening to the song Tangerine when I came up with this. And I was listening to, what was the other one? I don't remember. Oh, Peaches is part of that, and so was Vibing. Oh, and Sugar was another song I was listening to. So a lot of these are just based off of the songs that were playing when I was making these. So there's Vibin', another one that I really like. Good for like that real clean kind of magazine edit. A lot of these look very film, which I love. I love the film look. And then we got Witchy. Pull that little sucker up here. Oops, I did not mean to do that. Witchy is very matte. So you almost have to just kind of finesse that, and then you can add that back in. Is that not the prettiest? Okay, well that's all of them. Let me know which one your favorites are. And like everything works a little different with everything. Like some look great with all of them. Some are going to look better with others depending on the scene and the color cast. It's so much fun to play with them, so you guys will be able to do that and have a lot of fun there. So before we go, I want to talk to you very, very quickly about our next live event, which I plan on doing for you guys, which is the model call / marketing. Okay, and this is basically for people who are starting out and trying to drum up business, need some portfolio work, and also for seasoned vets who want some new marketing material and also are sick of running sales. I don't run sales. I do marketing calls a lot of times. So in other words, well, I don't want to give too much away, but I still get paid to get marketing material. And there's times where I don't want to get paid to do marketing material, but I always give that option. And I know you guys know kind of standard model calls. Mine's different. I've ran mine different the whole way. I never did like the idea of not giving your client anything when they're signing up for a model call. I don't use mine as a switching bait. I'm not just saying, hey, come in here so I can pretend take pictures of you for my portfolio. No, these are going to be pictures I'm really taking. This is practice. This is going to be something I'm really using it for, and it's going to drum up business. It's going to drum up excitement. You're going to love it. You're going to get creative with it. So that's going to be coming next month for the new year. I hope you guys are really excited about that. It will be another free event. I do think that this one I'm going to try to make it premiere for the people who donate. So in other words, if you are somebody who donates, even if it's like $1, okay? Let me just back up for a second. I have a lot of people who are sending me you know, $5 and things like that. And a lot of times they're writing notes and saying, you know, I wish I had more. I'm sorry it's not enough. And can I just tell you that your $5 and somebody else's $50 and somebody else's $100 are not the same value. So I remember when I first started, I might have had $50 in my bank account. So for me to give somebody $50, that would be me giving my whole bank account. If I gave $5 and when I only had $10 in my bank account, that's a lot to me. Okay, as I got progressed in my business and got better and had savings and paid debt off and all that good stuff, $50 seems like chunk change. So, you know, I can just throw it out there and I'm like happy to give it to people because, like, you know, I believe that money in is money out and money out's money in. So if you put good stuff out, you get good stuff back, right? So don't worry about the amount so much. If you got more to give me, cool. If you have less to give me, cool. I don't care. Like I said, your $5 and somebody else's $5 are not the same thing. Okay? So I don't want people to get discouraged. If you are somebody and you're like, man, I literally have a fucking dollar that I can give you. That's all I got. I'll take your dollar. I will take your dollar. You come to my live. Okay? I'm going to make a packet for this marketing stuff. I'm not going to get into detail on what it is, but for those who donate, they're going to get the packet for the marketing to make it easier. Of course, the information is going to be available to everybody, but I do think I'm going to make it a donation event first. It goes premieres with everybody who's donated, and they get their stuff. That way I can just, like I said earlier, I can just link out one time instead of multiply sending it out to, you know, a whole bunch of people. And then I will replay it and still answer questions and all that good stuff in the group for you guys, for the ones who didn't donate. So it still will be available and free information, but I kind of want to give it like just a little bit of a bump up, like, hey, if you take the time out of your day to donate to me, that's great. And, you know, we're going to give you a little extra, okay? So I freaking love it. So I'm really excited about that one. I do think that the marketing live is going to be absolutely huge. It's going to have a lot of really good information, and my goal is to get you guys out there creating, earning more money, and then you guys can come back and give me more, right? See? I mean, I'm going to be honest. That is my end game. My end game is to make you guys money so that I can get a little money, and I love doing this. I love shooting, but I'll tell you, with my chronic pain and mobility issues, it's really hard for me to shoot, and I love taking my clients that I take all day and they pay me an exorbitant amount of money, and I only have to do like one a week. I'm good with that. But in order for me to be an educator, I also still have to make money when I'm not doing shooting. So I'm trying to find kind of a middle ground for you guys. So it's not like, you know, you got to buy all of my guides to get the information, but then we have some kind of, you know, we have some thing going on, and I really enjoy it. Plus, I'm learning too. Shit, like I said, I never thought about making presets that really worked for everything, and holy shit, here we are, right? So I'd like to do that one. Shooting soft and airy, I think, would be a really good one, because can I just come back to this horrific picture and tell you this is not light and airy? This was a test shot, by the way. I was just testing out a filter, but this is not what I mean. I'm talking about shooting with dual light sources, 2 light sources, and really getting some good stuff. You know how you get pictures and like the back of the person is what's exposed and the front looks like shit, and you got to use like these weird, you know, gradient fills and all that. That's not what it's supposed to be, okay? You're not supposed to do that. I see people all the time in other groups, and granted, they're beginners, so I understand this, and I'm not knocking anybody. I've done this myself. But they'll have a family with their back to the sun, and then they'll go, look at my after, and it'll go from completely underexposed silhouette to a, you know, kind of, they pull the shadows up, and it then becomes a kind of fucked up picture in the front. Like, it's real flat, there's no lighting, it doesn't look great to me. Really, when you're shooting light and airy, you need to be balancing your stuff. But like I said, I digress. That's going to be for another day, and I think I might actually make presets for that too. I don't know. I really want to make like pastel presets, and I also really want to talk about shooting RGB and creative lighting. So I had mentioned in the group earlier about doing an actual online workshop for that. So imagine a couple-day workshop where we go over basics of lighting, and then creative lighting with RGBs, live demos, that kind of thing. It would be a paid event. I'm would obviously try to keep it as affordable as possible for you guys, but I'm talking like hands-on demonstrations that are going to go for hours, and then also you have it available to you later. So that's something I'm also working on. I have so many things I'm working on. So if you guys would like to see something, let me know. Let me know what you'd like to see. Let me know what you learned about here. For the love of God, if you've got these presets or you get these, they're getting sent out tomorrow. Two things. One is if you did Venmo, they're going to come via a reply to your message in Venmo. Is there going to be a link? You follow the link, follow the instructions for your presets. For your PayPal, it's going to be whatever your email was on your PayPal account. Now, it may not be the email that you're used to. I have no way of telling. I just click the button and hit reply, okay? So if you don't get it and you're like, man, that's why. And if for some reason I miss you, I know I had somebody send me an Amazon card because I couldn't do the other options, and I had two people do Cash App, which I was going to take, and then I realized that that's really stupid. Like, it's already hard enough for me to track two places. So obviously those people I'll have to figure out. And with Cash App, I actually have to open an email, find their email, like get them to give me their email address and then send it. So that would be just a nightmare. So I forgot what I was saying, but I want to see how to get more emotions. I'll tell you what, Jolene, I just had a talk with a couple people in another educator that's really well known for getting emotive expressions, and she's running a workshop, I believe it's in April, and I'm taking it. Okay, so once I get a little bit more information on that, I'll make it available to the group. I'm not saying I'll take it and I'll give you guys the information. I'm saying I'm taking it because I think that it's going to be really good. So, and her name is Denise Birdsong. I think it's Birdsong or Songbird. I always dyslexia it up. I mean that because I am also dyslexic. I've got all types of problems, you guys. So I would definitely recommend, I believe it's called Strip Down, but I also can do my own version stuff too. What if by Cash App? Yeah, so that's what I was talking about. I had two people, I believe you were one of them, by Cash App. I'm going to basically message you on Facebook and give you the link directly because I'm way too lazy to try to figure out your email and then send it and all that good stuff. So as far as for the people who did not donate, and if you want the basic presets, those are going to be available on my website. In fact, I think I already put them on there. If you've donated, they'll come with your pack anyway. But let me jump over here really quick and double check to make sure. Whoops. I don't know what it is. Boo DIY. How about that? I have so many web pages. I don't remember. Okay. So if you go to glamour.com Boo DIY, like our group, then this is like my page of freebies on here. I got the shower overlay freebie if you haven't grabbed that yet. I got the flashbang overlay, which is really cool. If you want to test that out, that's free. You can get those two right there. But if you scroll all the way down, you'll see the basic Boo DIY is here and available for you now. You just hit this download button, and then you'll see it goes here. This is how I do it. I just go show in folder, and then I just drag this to my desktop. I already have it there because I own it, obviously. So let's pretend like it's there. That way, whenever you import, like I showed before, you would save it to your desktop, and then you just jump in here, go up to import. And again, you do not have to unzip the file. You just click on it, hit import, and it will take it a second, but it will import them, and you'll just see them over here like this. And I put a little squippy in front, so yours should be loaded on top. See, I think of all those things. But yeah, so that's over there, Boo DIY. And I'm going to actually put these presets that I have in here up for sale after the live. You have 24 hours, so tomorrow will be the last day to donate. You can donate all the way up until tomorrow to get the presets. That way people have missed this. That gives them a chance to find it, you know. After that 24-hour period, though, I'm going to then place the presets to be sold for $50 because they are well worth it. Okay, so if you're coming into this and you're watching it like 2 weeks from now and you're new, I'm sorry, but they're still worth $50, I promise. So those will be down there. So other than that, I think that's about it. I'd love to hear some feedback for those who have gotten the Creative Concepts guide. I'd love to hear some feedback on that. It's still on sale for $99 because I cannot for the life of me figure out how to take it off of sale. I've even deleted the sale, so whatever. But this is a great guide. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about that. I'd also love to learn how to edit black light photos. Okay, Julian, so let me give it to you straight on black light photos. Actual black light is really expensive. So like the stuff we're getting off of like Amazon and stuff, that's really violet light. UV light is literally invisible. So you know when you plug in a black light and it looks purple, that isn't UV. That is filtered with a violet light so that it looks more aesthetically pleasing. Basically it's invisible light, and when you put it on something that fluoresces, it fluoresces. That's how you know it's lit up. So that's my first thing. And my second thing is the reason it's so hard to edit with those is because violet light is very weak and it's not very bright, so you're going to get a lot of noise and stuff. So I think it would be more of a tutorial on how to do that properly to start, and then how to edit, because I think that really it's going to start from the ground up on that. Okay, so I will definitely add that to my list of ideas here too. And I usually just poll you guys. I'm like, hey, you know, you want to see this thing? Do you want to see that thing? And if I get a lot of yeses, then I show it. The Creative Concepts Creative Concept is amazing. Thank you guys. I really, really, really appreciate that. It's a very simple guide, but it's also a very unique guide. So I freaking love it. And again, this thing is just ways to look at your images in a different way. So it doesn't even change your flow posing. It's literally getting you to look at a different perspective and get different types of shots. And this by itself, just using a couple of these every session, I have been able to get such diversity that it really, really bolsters up my sales, which I love. I love when my sales are good. See, Michelle says, Elena, you're my favorite. I have 2 sessions on the 27th, and I will share my creative concepts in these Fuck yeah, thank you, Michelle. That would be super appreciative. You guys know as well as I do, word of mouth is great. And like, when you're buying this stuff, you're supporting an Elena, okay? Which is great, because Elena wants to keep doing shit. And all I like to do is buy stuff, gear, and things to redo my space. Which, speaking of, I'm redoing one of my rooms. And I can't tell you guys what it's going to be, but it's going to be wild. So I just can't wait to share that with you. It's going to be a little bit of time because I got to finish putting a wall up and a ceiling. But yes, it's going to be very different. And I think it might be even the next evolution of boudoir, at least for me. So how do we get the presets if donated? So basically the presets will be sent out tomorrow. If you donate it via Venmo, I will send a message directly back to you on Venmo that has the link to go to. And then if you, so for like instance, so you'll have the link and a password. Even I don't know the password. Hold on. I think that's right. What? Sorry guys, no presets for you. Oh wait, that's right. It's a different place. Boudoir presets. There. So you'll get a link to this. Venmo, it'll be a message. If it's not Venmo, then it'll be PayPal, and that will be via email, whatever email was on your account, okay? It'll give you this, and then all you got to do is that same thing. Hit that download button. If you guys are on a Mac, for some frickin' reason, some of you guys don't see this download. If you have that problem, let me know. Just send me a message, and I can direct send you the file, okay? I know a couple people had that issue last time, but you should be able, you don't want to look at it because there's files that are not going to open. So you just want to hit the download, and then it'll come over here, and you do that show in folder, and then just slide that over to your desktop or wherever, okay? But, yep, and then of course, if you're not signed up for my newsletter, I'm going to take a moment to tell you to sign up for my damn newsletter, because with all the stuff going on, we don't know what's going on with Instagram or Facebook or anything else. If you sign up for this, I will be able to get in touch with you if some shit happens, okay? So sign up for that if you haven't already. And I think that's it. Make sure I didn't skip anything that I'm aware of. I don't think so. I wrote down so many things. So many notes. All right. And if you guys have more questions, let me know. If you're watching this on the replay, do hashtag replay. I'm just making sure I haven't missed. I think I got everything. Damn, Elena, you're good. Okay. So yeah, I hope you guys found this to be, you know, change browsers. Wait, what? So this is a problem with me having a short attention span. I forgot what I was even talking about, Sam, so I'm sorry. Oh, are you telling me my browser sucks? Well, you don't like Edge? I don't typically use it. I don't even really go on the internet on this computer is pretty well just for my Lightroom. So, oh, and I know that I have my presets. I gotta pull somebody. I completely spaced that. So, oh, you can't download on Mac. Good idea, Sam. So if they change your browser, they could probably download. Thank you. I had no idea. Good. That actually makes it way easier. So if you guys are on a Mac and you don't have the little thingy here, and you gotta hover on it, just so you know. If you don't have the thingy here, Sam says change your browser. So thank you. Okay. Yeah, like I said, if it's a Mac, unless it's a big Mac, I don't know anything about it. Oh my goodness, you guys, I'm so excited. And I will be coming out with information in another month or so on the workshop / shootout here in Illinois, in my studio, in my backyard with the neons and the fun stuff. I'm just waiting to get some COVID updates. So hopefully that gets back together so that, you know, in Illinois we're shut down. We've been shut down for frickin' ever. So, all right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. I will get those presets out tomorrow in the morning. Is the first thing I'm doing is waking up and I'm starting to send them. So as you guys get them, start playing with them, have fun with them, post pictures, show us some befores and afters. I can't wait to see what they look like on everybody's pictures, and I appreciate everybody who sent me files to play with and different things to test it, because I really was able to run those presets through like the ringer and get them as close to perfect as I could for every picture, which is hard, okay? It's all right. You guys have such a good night. I'm going to have a good night. I'm already having a great night. I will literally talk for like hours. You guys want a podcast of me just rambling? Because I could probably do that. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Well, I hope you guys had a good one. I hope you enjoyed everything. And I will, of course, have this on the replay. And if you have any more questions, let me know. All right. You guys have a great night. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. And as always, never stop creating cool shit, and you know you gotta have fun doing it. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.